This is the Good Morning Marco podcast, the first, best, and only podcast for Marco Island. I'm one of your hosts, Jordan Crayley.
I'm Ryan Sullivan.
And today we have a super special guest.
I'm Thomas C. Keller.
Thomas, thank you so much for joining us today. What are we going to be talking about on today's episode?
We are going to talk about your NeuroCreative Mind.
Move your microphone just a little bit closer to your mouth.
We're going to be talking about your NeuroCreative Mind.
Wonderful. I am so excited for this. Thomas reached out to us just a few weeks ago, and I'm really excited for this topic because it's both something that, as some of you may know, is a topic that is going to be very near and dear to both Jordan and I's hearts. But before we get into all of that, we've got new merch. So make sure that you go to the one-year party, which is going to be on the 19th.
July 19th.
When?
It's going to be 3 p.m. to 9 p.m. We have tons of vendors. We're going to have some live music for you guys. Please show up. We can't wait to see you guys.
Please show up. So funny. But anyway, also, Good Morning Marco is brought to you by these wonderful sponsors. So thank you to our first sponsor of this episode. Calling all parents and young actors. Sisparro Acting Studio, in conjunction with the Marco YMCA, are now seeking applicants for their theatrical summer camp, Christmas in July. The camp is for kids ages 6 to 13, starting Monday, July 28th at 9 a.m. Rehearsals will run that Monday through Friday, 9 to 5. Students will learn all aspects of theater through games and action. You can scan the QR code now to register your child online or register in person at the Marco YMCA. If you have any questions, you can email Gina Sisparro at sisparroacting@gmail.com. The camp will be at the Wesley United Methodist Church, located on South Barfield Drive. Again, Christmas in July Theater Summer Camp from July 28th to August 1st. It's going to be a great time. I've been in plenty of these theater camps myself, and I've directed some over the years, so I think this is a great opportunity, something that you really want to sign your kids up for. So make sure to support Gina and Sisparro Acting Studios and the local YMCA. And a massive thank you once again to Sisparro Acting Studios for sponsoring this episode of Good Morning Marco. And now we are also sponsored by another person. So thank you so much to this sponsor of Good Morning Marco. This episode of Good Morning Marco is brought to you by Tyler Buchan of the Golf Group. Located right here on Marco Island, they're your go-to experts for luxury living on Marco Island and beyond. Whether you're looking for a waterfront home with golf access, a condo with stunning beach views, or a private retreat down on Hideaway Beach, Tyler and his team will guide you to your home. Visit thegolfgroup.com to start your search today, or call 239-420-1099. Once again, that number is 239-420-1099. Go to thegolfgroup.com to find out more. Thank you so much to Tyler and his team for sponsoring this episode of Good Morning Marco. Why are we talking to you today specifically? And we are also at the Art Center, which is our second time here. You've got an event coming up, correct?
I have an event coming up on July 10th at 5:30 p.m. right here at the Marco Island Arts Center.
Which that's this Thursday if you're watching this on Monday when this comes out. So how can they get it's a free event, correct?
It's a free event. It takes lasts about 1 hour, and they prefer if you go to the internet website of Marco Island for the Arts and RSVP for this particular event.
Cool. That link will also be in the description on YouTube and also in the bio on Spotify, wherever you're watching, so you can go directly there to RSVP for the event. What's a little bit about what you're going to be talking about?
NeuroCreative. NeuroCreative is actually a term I coined because of two major areas of interest in my life, creativity and neuroplasticity. Creativity, because I'm a professional artist. I started creating art at 45 years old, 25 years ago. And I became a professional artist 24 years ago after 1 year. And so I've always been fascinated with creativity, intuition, imagination, all aspects of creativity. And the other reason I'm interested in neuroplasticity is because my mother passed away from Alzheimer's disease, and my mother's brother passed away from Alzheimer's disease. So it was something in the back of my mind and my consciousness of, and then I started hearing this word neuroplasticity frequently in the last few years, so I become very interested in it. And I came to realize, for me, I'm always looking for the natural, holistic, practical tools. I'm not interested in anything else particularly. So I discovered there's a handful of natural, holistic, practical, simple tools that can be used to grow your creativity, but just happen to grow your neuroplasticity at the same time.
Let's pause real quick. I'm going to put something on top of the mixing board. All right. Nothing a little rain delay can't solve. Let's see. Where were we?
So I participated in an exhibition here at the Marco Island Center for the Arts in the month of May, and that's where the idea to do a presentation of your NeuroCreative Mind came into my mind, and I offered it to them, and they jumped at it. So it's the first time we're going to be doing it down here.
So when did you coin the phrase NeuroCreative?
Just within the last year, NeuroCreative Mind.
Yeah, NeuroCreative Mind.
Yeah.
So this is all based off of the concept of neuroplasticity, right?
Yes, it's based off. Go ahead.
For the ill-informed, explain to the audience what neuroplasticity is.
Neuroplasticity, in its simplest definition, I say it's the brain's ability to grow, adapt, and evolve. And that's really the whole umbrella of it. It comes into mind most often when someone has a brain injury, car accident, or any kind of brain injury. Our brains have the amazing ability to grow new neural pathways so that if language was disturbed before, you can relearn language, or motor skills. Our brains are incredibly adaptive and can flex and adjust and grow new pathways.
Right. Our brains really like thrive in an enriched environment. I was doing a little bit of research before this, and I found a study where they were studying rats and putting these caged rats that were in an enriched environment and then just in a standard environment. And then they decided to see, well, let's see if we can teach a rat to drive a car. And so they built a car that a rat would be able to drive, a rat car. And then I'll link this study because this is insane stuff. If they have, I think there's video of the rats driving the car as well. I believe in the trials, the rats in the enriched environment, it took them about 22 separate run-throughs of the experiment in order to, on average, to learn to drive the car. The rats that were not in the enriched environment, that weren't being forced to use a creative mind, never learned. The specific way that they enriched these rats were they would bury Fruit Loops, which I thought was fun.
Which brings up a really good point. Our neuroplasticity goes to waste if we don't take action, behavior. We want to learn something. We want to try something new. We need stimulus to activate neuroplasticity.
I think something that is always irked me is pigeonholing more elderly people, where telling them, oh, no, don't do this, let me do it for you, don't do this, don't go out and do this, because are they getting slower? Yes, but not allowing people to do their normal daily tasks and not allowing them to go out and do things. Their dexterity is getting lower, and their mind isn't working those pathways. The brain is also a muscle that needs to be worked. So
yes, at any age.
Yeah.
I'm 69 years old. I have a 19-year-old daughter. The minute I'm doing something on my phone, she can't wait to grab my phone out and do it for me at record speed.
Yeah.
But my wife has an 89-year-old mother, and she's the same way with the technology with her. It's really important to resist the urge to do it for them.
Right.
And let them work it out at their own timing.
I can't relate to that more, as I work in like the tech field. I am the technical supervisor at my church in like TV production, so I manage a crew of people, and some of those people on the crew are older, and some of them are learning these technologies for the very first time. And they're running a program called Pro Presenter to follow along with the lyrics and do screens and stuff like that. And I refuse to do it for them at this point, and I'm just like, I know that you can. I know that you can. I know that you're slow, but you're going to get faster at it every time that you do it, and it shows. But people are actually getting better. So
Nice. So as far as holding yourself accountable for neuroplasticity, what do you recommend? Like, what is one of your quick ways to get people into kind of wanting to learn more about it or wanting to better themselves?
Wanting to better themselves. Well, as I said, new activation requires a new stimulation. So we have to be willing to learn in new subjects, acquire new skills, or activate our creativity. So I'm the intersection between creativity and neuroplasticity.
right.
Because I found that a lot of scientists, they study one area and that becomes their whole obsession.
Get pigeonholed again. Yeah.
Pigeonholed, but I go the other direction. I try to see what crosses over, and creativity and neuroplasticity cross over a tremendous amount. So a simple exercise for creativity, which also stimulates your neuroplasticity, is the memory. It's called a memory palace. Have you ever heard of it?
I have not. No.
It's one of the primary ways they teach memory is, and there's like dozens of books written about it. It's very popular, memory palaces. So if you wanted to remember 3 items on a shopping list, you would, in your mind, go through your front door, your first room. Let's say maybe it's the living room. One side is your couch, TV, and a stairway. So you attach something very creative with each item, and that's how you combine both creativity and neuroplasticity. So if you wanted to pick up milk, you would maybe see on your couch a cow sitting there. Go ahead.
I do that exact same thing when I try. So I have a difficulty. Well, no, actually, I don't have a difficulty anymore with remembering numbers. I remember numbers by just association, specifically with like years. A incredibly random example, because this is the first one that came to mind. I used to run a tour on the island where we talked about some local history. One of the things that we talked about was one of the local pirates, Jose Gaspar. So I had to have memorized what year he was born in. He was born in 1756 in Seville, Spain. And I always remembered 1756 because my dad was born in 1956, and I always drew that comparison. There's also like different codes that I remember by. It's like, oh, that's 80. John Lennon died in 1980, so 8093. This came out in 1993. I do a ton of things like that. People always think that I'm weird for it, but I'm like, no, it's the best way to remember things. Is a very strange connection between two things. It sticks in your mind easier.
And the more bizarre, more creative the connection, the better it sticks.
Yes.
So you're exercising creativity and you're exercising your brain's neuroplasticity at the same time.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So you said that you became an artist at 45, correct?
Yes.
So what made you decide to pick up that talent at that age?
Well, as a young boy, I was creating art, 7, 8, 9, 10 years old. At 10 years old, in a standard eye examination that my mom took me to, it was discovered I was colorblind.
Oh, really?
So I didn't understand it because I loved drawing and Crayola crayons and all of that, and I just became very frustrated and confused over it. So I shut all the creativity down, and I just went into my life, an angry young boy, not being conscious of what was going on. I went for 35 years without creating another painting. And then at a class I took at a spiritual community when I was living in Los Angeles, each member of the class was to create a project that symbolized what they learned in the class. A written word, poem, I created a painting. First time in 35 years. And it was just a ordinary painting, but what I didn't catch at the moment was that painting created this kind of crack in a huge creative dam inside my head. And that dam burst wide open, and I just began painting one after another after another. It was thrilling, exhilarating. I painted so much that within 1 year, I had my first exhibition in an LA art gallery. So there was obviously a flood of creativity backed up inside of me that needed to come out, and it was just the right time for that to happen.
Wow.
And so since then, I've added sculpting to it a few years later. Then I did a piece of performance art, and now I'm pouring a lot of creativity into speaking to people and sharing ideas.
So this gives me an interesting question. I don't know if it's one that we can answer, but it just came to me right now. I know there's a lot of examples of just sheer geniuses who are extremely creative in various different forms of art. Like Mozart, obviously a genius. Another one that comes to mind is Jim Morrison, the guitar savant. He had an IQ of like 150 or something like that. Do you think that intelligence is tied to a heightened creativity, or a heightened creativity is tied to giving yourself a higher intelligence?
I have no idea.
Yeah. See, it was
That's
something
an interesting speculation.
This is for the folks at home. This is something for you to pontificate.
Well, what about this? I saw on YouTube. I think there's a young lady had a car accident, a brain injury, severe brain injury. After that, she could play piano like nobody could dream of.
Yeah.
And that happens a few times.
There are examples where people learn languages that they didn't know after accidents and stuff. And something that I always found so interesting is there are I believe it's seizures. There are sometimes where the only way to I forget exactly what the whole point of it is, but where they have to go in surgically and separate your left brain from your right brain. And then it's almost like your left hand will start doing things that you're not consciously aware of. And it's almost like they call it split consciousness, where there is the right side of your brain is where speech comes from, and your left side has its own control of different motor functions. And when there's no communication between each other, it's almost like they're trying to communicate with each other through external stimuli. I think there's a Vsauce video about that. Maybe I'll try to link that. I don't know. It's been a long time since I researched that, and it's not necessarily about this subject of discussion. It just came to me right now because I love this stuff.
Well, I know you. I think you have a theater background. Am I right?
Yes,
Right.
yes.
So I heard you make reference to it in podcasts. It's a very creative medium.
Yeah.
So I'm always interested in, did that start as a young child, or were you?
Yes. So I started in theater when I believe I was 7. When did you start in theater? Did you?
I was a one-hit
play?
wonder.
Okay. But I did Willy Wonka's Chocolate Factory when I was in 2nd grade, and I have been in theater ever since then.
Yeah.
Either acting or directing in some capacities.
Okay. Right.
Writer's block. People get stuck from time to time, and we want to say it's like, well, a great way to help work out your mind is by being creative. What should someone do if they're like, well, I can't think of anything?
Oh, I have a very different opinion of writer's block.
Yeah.
Whether it be sculptor's block, painter's block, acting block. Because I had it as in painting after a few years after I started. And I talked to this woman who was, quote unquote, my spiritual teacher at the time. And she said, Thomas, look around. What do you see happening? Day and night, day and night. And what happens with your body? You breathe in and out, in and out, in and out. And look around you. Seasons of the year rotate, 4 seasons each year. Where on earth does anything stay absolutely steady the whole time, including creativity?
Yeah.
So maybe creativity is supposed to be expressed when you're inspired or something's coming through you, and maybe when nothing is coming through you, you're not supposed to be creative in that way. You can continue writing or painting, but there'll be projects that you choose on your own, your personality-wise. But when something that's truly inspired wants to come through you, you can definitely sense it, and it just start creating it. And I think that's what happened with my art. You know, I started with one painting, but it opened a door to all this inspiration that had been bottled up in me that I was completely unaware of until then.
Yeah. Wow.
So that's how it's different. And writers, they say, and I'm not arguing with them.
Right.
They say sit down and write 4 hours a day. That's just your practice. And that's fine. Whatever works for you is what I say.
Yeah. Yeah. I can, that's very, very good points on both sides of the argument, I'd say.
Because if you've been an artist and you tried to force your art, you know the difference in how that feels.
100%.
Or if you're acting on a theater stage and you're...
Yeah. Which I've written before, and when I am like, I have an idea, I'm going to sit down and I'm going to do it. It's like Newton's laws of motion. An object in motion will remain in motion unless an outside force acts upon it. But then also, an object at rest will remain at rest until the outside force. The outside force is that spark. There's going to be something that starts, and it isn't always the, I'm just going to sit down and do it. It usually has to be some sort of form of inspiration.
Yeah, I like to call it the 3 I's: intuition, imagination, and inspiration. And that's all coming from, quote unquote, an invisible realm into us or through us, however you want to express it. Or you have the idea for a podcast. A day before that, you may have never had that idea.
Yeah.
Where does it come from? So that's my opinion on writer's block, and it's just mine.
Yeah. Jordan, you're very passionate on one side of this because you've got the charity that you started, Remember Paradise. If you want to make some comment on the like neuroplasticity and the like Alzheimer's like end of things.
Yeah. I mean, I am certainly going to be going to your event on the 10th just because, I mean, I've kind of grown up with a slight fear that I might also develop dementia and that kind of stuff like my mother did. And like when you were saying earlier, kind of trying to remember things. I remember when my mom would go to the doctors and they'd give her like 3 words that she had to remember at the beginning. And it'd be apple, table, penny. And then they would ask her maybe like 10 questions, random, whatever. And at the end, she would have to be able to remember apple, table, penny. Well, even though those words never changed at any of her visits, we'd have it written all over the house, like on the mirror, the table, you know, stuff like that. And for some people, how can you tell the difference between maybe it would be more of like a developing disease versus maybe your mind just being lazy?
Well, I'll tell you my experience because that's really all I can speak of. I was pretty lazy with my mind for a long time, I'll be honest, in that, particularly in memory. So a year and a half ago, I wanted to support my wife who wanted to improve her public speaking, her presentation skills. A club called Toastmasters. I don't know if you've ever heard it. They're all over the world. We went to a Toastmaster club in Naples. And we were sitting there, and at this point, I have in my memory maybe 10 people that I talk to and know their names of, 15 max. And as far as memorizing a speech, a monologue of any kind, pretty much 0. I hadn't exercised my memory in a long time, particularly with smartphones. So anyhow, at this Toastmasters, I became all excited because of what I was hearing and what I was seeing. Not only that, while they were speaking, doing their presentations, my entire first speech came to me in my mind in sections. And since I was familiar with one of my creative processes, I didn't get nervous about it. It's like there was nothing there, then the whole thing would appear. And so I wrote it down in parts like a song, writing a song. And I got so excited about public speaking and that after that, that we both joined Toastmasters. I've gone on to give numerous speeches. I've gone from presenting a 5-minute speech with this, let's say 600 words, to up to now 3,500 words, which is about 35 minutes speech. and I had no idea my brain could even do that. So I don't know if it's an easy way to tell the difference. I would trust that to the medical community, the diagnosis, but I just know from my experience that's ongoing now that my brain is capable of a lot more than I ever imagined.
I really like that answer. So I think that there's definitely, even for people who are suffering a neurodegenerative illness, because my mom also suffered from multiple sclerosis. So her mind started to go as the end came closer, and then my grandmother suffered from dementia as well. So and what I noticed the most with my grandma is she was a very talented pianist her entire life, or mostly organist, actually. She was actually very famous in her town that she grew up in I believe it was St. Charles, Illinois. She was Cheryl Olson was very well known for her piano skills, and when hospice was coming in, she would turn into herself again whenever she would play the piano.
Oh, yeah.
We thought that her arthritis was so bad that she couldn't even play the piano, and then she would, and she would become herself again. And another instance that comes to me is a friend of mine who passed recently. His name was Johnny Hurtley. He grew up on the island, and he was very talented with he was a rapper, right? And he was, for a local rapper, he was incredibly good. He was jumped and got his a severe brain injury, and was then he was on a long road to recovery, and it was, you kind of saw the light leave his eyes for a short time, and then when he came back to Marco for a little bit, you would see whenever you'd get him, like, it's like, oh, someone play a beat and let Johnny like go freestyle over it. It would completely change. It would unlock something in him almost. So I think what you're here to talk about, what you're doing, is there's so much behind it. There's so much to it, because the amount of people that I've seen who've just they wouldn't be here without their creative side, I would say, be it for it being an outlet to them, or being it to the thing keeping them sane, you know. So I commend it. It's a valiant effort.
The Alzheimer's, the dementia, the different diseases, if you will, are on people's minds, especially in older communities. But the other thing is the creativity, which is such a passion of mine as well. I don't want to focus all the time on the dementia and Alzheimer's, because creativity, there are so many people that don't believe they have a creative bone in their body, and I don't believe that for a second. And I continually prove that with people. I think here in Western society, Western civilization, we have much too narrow of a definition of creativity. Creativity is not, or even in business, creativity is not about painting a Mona Lisa. It's about solving a problem or just generating an innovative idea. And I'm also on a mission to broaden the definition of creativity.
Because also we're in an enlightened society, so it's we're not at the point where we all have to be farming and hunting to survive, and it's also not at the point where all of us have to be working in factories in order to survive. Both of us are in creative work, you doing social media management and me working in the television industry. We have very, very first world enlightened. Enlightened feels very pretentious to say, but I think it's probably the best term to use. But in an enlightened society, there's more opportunities for people to be creative, because it's almost like your creativity, when you don't have an opportunity to go into an artistic sense of it, is, I mean, how early humans were creative was, how are we going to take down this mammoth? Right?
Yeah.
Like, how are we going to do this? That thing's big. It probably tastes good. What are we going to do? But now it's like, we don't, our problem solving skills are like, well, how do we increase team synergy by 10%?
Yeah.
Which is still like, it's still monkey brain has to figure that out. And it's, I don't know, I'm just
Well,
spitballing.
kind of going off of your premise of how we have different things to kind of be creative about, a lot more like work-based problems. One thing I've noticed happening a lot is the use of AI. What would you kind of say is, the pros or cons of that kind of stuff as far as neurocreativity?
I love that. I think AI is going to have the largest impact on human creativity ever.
Yeah.
For the good, believe it or not. I think that because AI can do a lot of things great: data collection, pattern recognition, even imitation. But the thing that AI can't do is it can't be creative out of nothing. It can't use intuition, imagination, or inspiration. It simply doesn't.
It's just prompts.
It's just prompts, and it's just imitation. So the greatest well, listen, just in the past 3 months, Intel Corporation cut 15% of their worldwide workforce. That's 21,000 people and their families out of work. Dell cut 10%, Meta cut 5%, not because of a bad economy, because of the rise of AI. So our superpower as human beings is our creative ability. AI can't imitate that or can't duplicate that. So I think if we continue and focus on our creativity, because all the repetitive tasks, they're going to be taken by AI.
Right.
The things we're doing in the industrial age and car factories, it's all going to be taken over in AI. In this age of AI, our superpower as human beings is our creativity. That's the one thing that AI cannot duplicate, imitate, or replicate. And so I just want to say to everybody, creativity is not some mysterious secret sauce that's only available to arts and the artists. Creativity is a part of every single one of us. And I know there are people that don't believe they are, but that's just the way they define creativity. Have you ever done anything with duct tape?
Yes.
Have. Yes.
Duct tape, duct tape is made to tape together the ducts in your air conditioning system. What you did with duct tape, was that concerning your air conditioning system?
Never once,
Nope.
actually.
Then you're creative.
Actually once. No, one time. But
Did
the
you?
vast majority of times,
Most people
no.
don't even know that's what it was made
Yeah.
for. But we use it for so many different reasons. It's crazy. And each reason is a creative invention. Because, pick a spoon, the function of a spoon. In 30 seconds, you can develop 20 different ways to use a spoon and eat.
Yeah.
That's creativity. If you've ever taken a shortcut and driving through traffic, creativity. If you've ever prepared a meal based on leftovers, creativity. If you've ever told a bedtime story, spur of the moment, creativity. It's everywhere. We just don't acknowledge it as creativity so often.
Yeah. So then, I'm still thinking on the AI path of things. What do you have to say to somebody who's almost just outputting their creativity to AI, where it's just like, so for example, my use of AI, I will take the transcript to these episodes, put it into ChatGPT, and say, write the YouTube description, write the captions for these, because it's very good at generating SEO and stuff like that. But then there will be people who are like, well, write this blog post, write this, write that, and brainstorm for me. And then it's like, okay, I like that idea, pick it from the list of 10, and then, okay, generate something based off of that, and then move that over to Mid-Journey, and then make a painting based off of that. I don't know. But so what do you have to say to someone who's almost like the only input is the prompts?
I have to say that I experimented with AI, and I continue to experiment with it. I like ChatGPT.
Yeah.
And I asked it to write a 5-minute speech, something we often do in Toastmasters.
Yeah.
And it wrote a great one. Grammar was excellent. The whole plot was great. And I could say it out loud, and everyone in there would know it was AI generated.
Yep.
Because it's missing something. It's an imitation of a real person experience.
Yeah.
So they don't have the emotional connection. And you can do a lot with AI, like you said, on the borders of writing YouTube scripts and stuff for it. But ultimately, it's like, I don't know, this might be a bad analogy. Have you ever been with someone romantically that faked it? You know it, but you don't say anything.
It's a very, very, very good example.
I know that's a bizarre thing to say, but that's the difference between faking it and being genuine. And you can feel a genuine person with just a few seconds experience. You may not be able to read it on screen or on the internet and make that judgment.
Right.
But you get in person with somebody, you can tell when they're reciting a speech from AI and when they're speaking from their heart.
Which I think you're cheating yourself of. I don't want to say you're cheating yourself of your own soul, because that sounds way too much. But it's you're cheating your work of your soul.
Yeah.
You're because I mean, a lot of my creative endeavors I treat like my baby. You know.
Oh my God.
I treat my book like my baby. I love that thing. And I love this podcast dearly. Every video that I make, it's just like it's like SpongeBob when he makes that one Krabby Patty in the in the King Neptune episode. For the kids at home, you know what I'm talking about. But I think when you're outputting all of it to AI, it's you're cheating your own work out of the soul of it, and then you're cheating your mind, because this whole concept of neuroplasticity is so it's so necessary to work your brain, even if you're not an at-risk individual, I'd say, of some sort of neurodegenerative illness, because I mean, who doesn't want to be? It's almost like you've got a toolbox and you're willingly leaving out certain tools without utilizing a creative mind.
Yeah.
That's the way that I would put it. Without using, you can use a wrench to hammer a nail, but it's not going to get the job done as well as the hammer, right? So it's, yeah. I don't know if that analogy works, but I came up with it on the fly, so I'm using my creative mind.
You are indeed.
Kind of going off of the difference between, the authenticity of something that a human would produce versus AI, do you think that someone's level of sincerity towards something would affect their neuroplasticity?
How so? When you say level of sincerity?
Like, I feel like we've all met those kind of people that are like very surface level, seem like they don't really care about much. What would be the difference between someone like that and someone who
I think I know what you're
has like
you're
passion in a specific thing?
Yeah, I think a level of it's just like, oh, I'm just gonna do it and not really caring about it as they're doing it, or someone who it's like, I'm going to have an intentional effort to make this creative work right now, instead of someone who's just like, I'm just.
I don't know. That's a great question, because I have a different opinion on it. I pour my heart and soul into paintings and sculptures, and then when I exhibit them, it's like, oh my God, my babies are out there. I'm like, I'm scared for them. in a weird sort of way. But then I've met other people, like a young man when we lived in Atlanta. He was 17 years old or whatever, and he had particular skills at different English capabilities.
Right.
I don't remember. You remember Nathan? Anyhow, it took him little to no effort to create something genius because of his predisposition toward that medium already.
Right.
So, I don't know.
Yeah.
But you can still feel if it's inauthentic, no matter what. Even if it's a great piece, there's something in your gut that won't feel 100% in on it.
I'm thinking of an example, but I'm electing to not bring up this example because I don't want to edit it out, and I know I'd have to edit it out, so I'll skip it. Okay. So, sort of moving on to a different point. So, with your, I guess you could, you call what you would do a workshop, right?
Yeah.
With the,
Yes.
So you're connecting a lot of different types of people with this. How do you speak to groups of people when you know that you've got like business leaders and retirees, knowing that you've got a wide range of audience to make sure that you're sort of like hitting all points?
Well, when I do a workshop at an art center like this, I know that there are going to be either creative artists already coming, or they're going to be people interested in neuroplasticity and increasing their brain skills. But I also have a presentation that's different for businesses and business executives and going into the office and workplace, because they're more interested in productivity and use of AI and that type of thing. There's very little reason for me to talk about AI in the arts.
Right.
You know.
Your work connects both business leaders and retirees.
Yes.
With what you do. What do these groups have in common when it comes to creativity? And then also, how do you teach it differently, I would say, when you are speaking to different groups?
Well, what we have in common as human beings. We have the same overall desires, wants, achievement, relationships, a healthy life, a vital mind.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter if you're a business executive or a artist, just starving artist.
Right.
You're still human beings, and that's the part of the person I'm addressing, the part that goes on the inside of them. And it doesn't matter if it's a threat of AI or a writer's block. It's still the same thing. In essence, where am I feeling stopped, and should I be different?
Yeah.
Or should I just make up that I can be different so I can make myself wrong? That's a whole nother thing.
Ooh. See, that's another point. Making myself wrong. I saw a little bit about your view on failure as fuel. Would you like to speak to that for a moment?
Failure to me is, I like it. I love this saying, and I didn't create it. I'd much rather fail. I much rather try and fail than fail to try. Because if I fail to try, I've already failed just by the decision that I made in my mind not to try. And public speaking is one of the most terrifying things for the majority of people.
Which a recent study that I saw is it's a survey of several thousand people. It was the top 10 greatest fears that people had. Number 2 was death. Number 1 was public speaking. So that means there are a large percentage of people who would rather die than speak in front of a crowd. So
Yeah.
can't relate.
Which is really incredible. But every time I get up to speak, I'm afraid internally, excited, energized, and afraid all at the same time. And I was much more terrified the first couple of times, and I wasn't penalized.
Yeah.
And the only time we penalize is when we penalize ourselves and decide I'm not going to try because I already give up.
Yeah. I think
I retired my construction business during COVID.
Yeah.
And I have since tried and failed in 3 or 4 business endeavors. So I could give up.
Yeah.
You know, 69 years old, I could give up, but I'm not interested in giving up.
Yeah.
You know, this is the game for me. This is the joy, the energy, the excitement.
Yeah. I think, dang, I had something that was really good for a second there. There's a quote that's been bopping around my head by Dwight L. Moody that it's, I don't fear failure, but I fear to succeed at something that doesn't matter. But that was bopping around in my head, but that wasn't what it was I wanted to speak to. It's on the same train as trying even if you fail. What was it?
Do or do not.
No,
There is
that
no
was
try.
also in my head too, but that's what distracted me was I heard Yoda talking behind me. I was like, no, you get out of there. I was trying to talk to somebody else up there.
Well,
I'm completely off, but
let me say something else. Another big area, and I address it in my workshop, where we give up our brains is in our habits. Are you a creature of habit? A routine machine? You know, a lot of habits are great in the beginning, like I work out, and it's very productive physically and mentally when I first started working out. But what happens with time is our minds kind of shut off, and we just go through the routine because we've already have it set up. So it might be productive for our body, but it's no longer doing anything for our brain. That's why I talk about repetitive robotic behaviors. Repetitive robotic behaviors. We do them. We do a lot of them.
yeah,
And they're a ripe place for...
this is why we moved.
They're a ripe place for searching for areas where we can grow, where we can stimulate neurocreativity. You want to keep going?
Yeah, no, we can keep going. I'm fine because I'm dry. Are you dry?
Yeah.
Are you good? Are you good, Sandra, as well? Okay, cool. We can keep going.
They
'cause I
are
can still
a
hear
right place, an easy place to find areas in our life where we can continue to stimulate our mind. So we go through a little bit in the workshop of how to disrupt your repetitive robotic behaviors.
Yeah. Pattern disruptors.
Pattern disruptors. We're not looking to disrupt all of them. We want to create a nice, easy, steady stream of change and growth in our lives. You know, our brains produce neurons to the moment we pass away. And those neurons, if we don't utilize them, they fall like seeds on concrete.
Yeah.
You know, there's nothing to nurture them or grow them.
Yeah.
So if a person were to look at their habits, their routines, their ruts, and just change it up a little bit. I changed up my workout. I still exercise. I added a day of swimming to my 3 days of cardio instead of just running 3 days.
Yeah.
Just that little bit stimulates your brain and your entire body in new and exciting ways.
Yeah. Wow. Jordan, do you have anything else that you want to ask about before we get into some rapid fire questions?
I think I used all of my
Your neuroplasticity for today.
Say it a little louder. Oh. And addressing those repetitive robotic behaviors, I have a dear friend, a fellow Toastmasters speaker, who told me just the other day she used that disrupt the pattern, the habit, when she was picking out colors for the fabrics for her bedroom design. And she thought of my speech in the back of her mind, and so she picked a different color palette for the first time in like 15 years.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and it just freed up her brain to think in new ways. We get in such entrained ruts that we forget that there's all these options in the world, and we're picking one and sticking to it, which is not very interesting in the long haul.
Yeah. Simply taking a different route to work, to go to a convenience store you've never been to get a soda you've never had could be the highlight of your week.
And that's so true. Yeah.
No, it's very simple thing. That's a funny example, but I mean, it could be that easy to just change what you're doing. Because I mean, also, I feel like I don't know what I would do with myself if I was retired. I genuinely don't. Well, actually, no. I would probably be doing this 24/7. I would
This
have
isn't
6 podcasts
retirement
at this
then.
point.
You're
Yeah.
not retired then.
Well, yeah, no, yeah. But if I didn't have a 9-to-5 job, I
Yes.
don't know what I would do with myself.
Yeah.
Because my 9-to-5 job, I'm a little bit of a workaholic. My 9-to-5 job was 9 to 10 yesterday. So like I like working. I like making sure that I'm busy, and it's because I'm doing things that I'm doing lighting and stuff, doing stuff that's
Yeah.
making my mind work. So it's
You're
great,
a very creative person. It's obvious to me, and you're a fast twitch. You got a fast brain. You talk fast, and so you need to know that about
Yeah.
yourself, which you do. So then you can embrace that and become and use it for your
Yeah.
strengths instead of being dragged down about
letting seeds fall upon the
Exactly.
rock instead of letting it fall upon good soil.
Exactly.
Yeah. Unfortunately, I didn't use it to hold on to that amazing topic that I had before. We'll have to bring it.
Oh, it'll circle
another
back
time.
around.
Yeah. But is there anything else that you want to talk about before we get into a little bit more like personal side of things and like some rapid fire questions?
No.
Okay. I'm like, check real quick. Okay, we're good. All right, Jordan, do you want to kick us off with rapid fire questions?
Oh.
I feel like we should make like a cool
We
intro
should,
for
we
that.
should at
That would
some
be
point.
yeah. Anyway,
All right, well, here it is.
Rapid fire questions.
All right, there it was.
um,
I have no idea what it's going to be, but it's going to be cool. I can tell you that.
it was super cool.
Yeah, I know.
Everyone at home thinks it.
Let's play it again.
Rapid fire questions.
Coffee or tea?
Used to be coffee, now tea.
You know, I've heard that a couple of times before. Now, what type of tea do you usually drink?
I love ginger turmeric, something like that. Natural organic teas.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I say this almost every time someone says tea, but I can't stand sweet tea. I know I'm from the South, but I steer away. I love an Arnold Palmer, but I'm a black coffee drinker through and through. I have a black coffee sitting in my cup holder right now. So
I feel that urge, that pull of it.
it's the siren song of the siren song of the Tucson is calling to me right now. So if you could have lunch with any person, living or dead, who would it be? And we'll put it as someone of either historical significance or of some.
I already know.
Okay, who would it be?
Edgar Degas.
Okay,
The
not
painter
familiar.
Edgar Degas. He was a master pastelist. Do you know what
Okay.
pastels
Yes,
are?
yeah.
Dry medium. I don't know the dates, but it's 17th, 18th century. And we took my family to Paris a couple of years ago, and there's a Museum d'Orsay. They had an exhibition special of Edgar Degas paintings, like 30 of them, a huge number, along with the Impressionism work. And I was just awestruck the entire day there, and I went back by myself the second day for another 8-hour round of it because I'd never seen anything so beautiful. You get up back from a distance, you can clearly see these are dancers or ladies or a street scene, but the closer you get to it, the more abstract the entire painting becomes. So Edgar Degas.
Wow, I always love when someone has an immediate answer to that question. That's my favorite.
Be glad I didn't say Edgar Allan Poe.
Yeah.
He's another fan. I'm another fan.
I would also be very interested to speak to Edgar Allan
I would
Poe.
too.
I think Telltale Heart is a very funny story. To be fully honest, I love Poe. Anyway,
If you could have a superpower, what would it be?
If I could have a superpower, what would it be? Teleporting.
teleporting.
I'd like to teleport to different parts in the world, spend a week or 2, 3 there.
You're the second person in a row that we've asked this question to and has said teleporting, believe
Teleporting?
it or not. Yeah.
I mean, I could teleport to other planets, but I really don't know enough about them. But I know there's so many amazing spots on this world
Yeah.
that I'd love to see and spend some time in.
Yeah. Well, that's great. Well, okay. Beach or mountains?
11 years down here at the beach, I'm going to say mountains.
Okay.
I love the Smoky Mountains, the Rocky Mountains. I love the mountain environment. The lush greens, the waterfalls. Yeah. It's gorgeous. It's like immersing myself in beauty is a whole nother way to stimulate our entire brains. And
Yeah.
mountains it is.
Fully agree.
What's your favorite kind of food?
My favorite kind of food, Thai food.
Thai food.
Yeah.
Now,
Thai noodles.
have you spent much time on the island? Or you're mostly in Naples, right?
I'm mostly in Naples. When our daughter was growing up, we'd come down here and she'd do a homeschool co-op once a week or once a month, but I don't really know much about the island.
Okay. So, in Naples, what's your favorite restaurant?
Sushi Thai.
Sushi Thai? Okay, well, I could probably assume that.
Either one or two. There might even be three now.
Yeah, no, I think there is. Which one? The one on...
The one
I think
on
we got one here, too, right?
the one
Yeah, I
on
didn't realize I was
Airport
leaving.
and just south of Vanderbilt.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I really like Thai, just because I happen to be close to one everywhere I go. There's only two. There's one right next to my church, and there's one right next to Kava Culture. So,
Thai.
yeah, Thai.
Is there one in Naples?
There is, but it's South Naples. It's in the
Okay.
Naples coastal shops, where right next to Circle K and Racetrack, right as you're leaving the island. It might actually, they just changed the name there, I think. I don't know. It still says Thai, but there's a banner underneath that says like something else Thai, but it's still Thai. So you can see that. It is my turn. I just commented on that one. Oh no, it is your turn. Sorry.
Now, do you make these questions up in the spur of the moment too, or am I just supposed to answer in the spur?
Sometimes. A lot of these questions we have asked many times before.
Okay.
Sometimes they will come to us in the spur of the moment. Sometimes we will refer back to a list that we wrote down many months ago. And sometimes it's just all based off of our memory.
Yeah.
So,
I just like teasing you.
yeah. There, I had another really good one that I was thinking of that
Oh, we're okay.
escaped me. Do you have one?
I do not.
Okay, what was mine?
I have one.
Okay.
What does your T-shirt indicate? I can't quite see it to read it.
So I got this back in like January. We did a dementia awareness event over at Veterans Park, and it was in honor of my mom.
Okay.
So it just kind of says I wear purple for my mom.
Passed with Alzheimer's or from Alzheimer's?
Alzheimer's, yes,
Yeah.
sir.
Yeah.
Sweet.
Let me think. I was listening, so I wasn't thinking. I might make a cut really quick just so I can think for a second because I had a
Where do you
really...
think my accent's from?
Ooh.
This is a spontaneous question back to you.
Say room. Room? Like,
Room?
like dining room, bedroom.
Dining room?
Okay.
Oh.
What would you call the top of a building?
Roof?
Okay. You look through a...
Window?
All right, that gives me nothing.
How do you
It's
say
not-
garage?
Garage?
Water bottle.
Here's a clue. I say you by saying y'all.
Okay, so it's not enough drawl for me to say Tennessee, because I would assume just a little bit more mountain speak. Because
You're very warm.
I'm thinking northern Georgia,
Kentucky.
Okay, no, I was
Western
second
Kentucky.
in a row. Believe it or not.
Really?
Yeah. No. Our last week we did Marco Island Sharks, which he moved here from Kentucky. So.
So since you're from Kentucky, how do you feel about KFC?
I have never eaten KFC
Really?
in my entire life.
My first time I had KFC was in Kentucky, and I think I've only had it once or twice since. It is not the best.
It's okay.
Is it okay?
It's okay.
It's there's far better. So again, before we started talking, we asked about how long this was going to run, and I said, oh, we try to shoot for like 30, 40 minutes, and sometimes it ends up about an hour, but I really try to remain under that. And this is the third time I've had to restart the camera, so it looks like this is another hour-long episode. So I'm excited. I don't know. I'm gonna have to see if I can pull some strings to make sure that I can be here on Thursday.
Great.
So it's
Can you feel the energy in our conversation between us? You can, if I'm AI, you're not going to get that.
yeah. See,
You're not going to
100%.
get that.
Yeah. So, is anything else that you want to say before we leave here today?
Well, what I intend for people who come to the workshop is that they leave feeling empowered, excited, and genuinely hopeful or desiring a better use of their brains, a productive, not the phrase I'm looking for, excited about being productive mentally as they age on and on. I imagine down here it'll be an older audience typically, and I want people to leave feeling hopeful and excited about what they can do to enliven their brains and therefore their lifestyle, including their creativity. Because I've met so many people 100 and 100 years plus that are amazing. And the only difference is they've continued being passionate about life. They've continued to search out new areas of growth and new information. And it's a beautiful sight.
Wow. Well, some very nice closing words. Jordan,
Yes.
where can they find you?
You can find me on Instagram, jgcraley03. You can also find the new little influencery page, the.marco.current.
Very fun stuff over there. She jumped out of a plane. It's crazy.
I did jump out of a plane. And you can also find my website, currentcreationsfl.com, if you're looking for social media management, any marketing, menus, business cards, etc. And Ryan, where can they find you?
You can find me at www.ryanmsullivan.com. You can go there to find links to all of my creative projects. You can find links to the old Pickle Jar podcast, to Good Morning Marco, and as well as you can go there to buy my book, which I just dropped the price on because I realized that I just want people to read it. So if it was cost prohibitive, you just get it. And if you just want it, I'll give it to you. So just let me know. Email me, and I'll get you a copy. So with that, you can email me through my website, ryanmsullivan.com. You can also follow me on Instagram, which is my most active platform, Real Ryan Sullivan. That's RealRyanSullivan. Thomas, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you.
Yes, I'm excited to see you again on the 10th.
Great. Fantastic.
It's been enlightening. I'm saying it again. It's been a great conversation. This has been one of my favorite episodes of the podcast. Not a very Marco-centric episode, but a very good episode nonetheless. And I think this is going to be an evergreen one that will be
a very
great.
human-centered episode.
Yes, something. I think this is one that even if someone's not from Marco or even Florida, they can get down with this one. So I'm excited.
Thank you.
So where can they find you more about what you're doing?
Right. I have primarily Instagram, Thomas C. Keller Speaker, and then my website is thomasckeller.com. And then also you can find me on Facebook and LinkedIn, actually.
All right.
Thomas C. Keller.
Then to sign up they just have to RSVP for this event on Thursday.
Go to the Marco Island website and RSVP
The Marco
through
Island
them.
Art Center website, yeah.
Marco Island Center for the Arts website and RSVP through there. And that way they'll have a head count and a seat reserved.
Wonderful.
Awesome.
All right.
Ladies and gentlemen, do not forget that we have our 1-year party coming up.
Yes.
We have some new merch, some fun vendors, and some fun live music waiting for you.
What?
Waiting for you. I was mixing
Oh,
ready
oh.
for you and waiting for
Oh, I
you.
thought you were saying rating for you. You were going to mention that we got a comment on our last episode that says, "This is your best interview yet." Did you see that?
I didn't know.
Yeah, no, we've been getting some massively good feedback on the last one.
Did we post it on Nextdoor, though? I'm sure
Not
Nextdoor has
yet.
other words.
No, not yet. It's our first episode to break 100 views in 2 months. I think it's over 200, and I haven't even posted it on Nextdoor yet.
Wow.
Yeah, incredible. Anyway, with that, this episode of Good Morning Marco, and most episodes, is brought to you by our wonderful sponsor.
This episode of Good Morning Marco is brought to you by Tyler Buchan of the Golf Group. Located right here on Marco Island, they're your go-to experts for luxury living on Marco Island and beyond. Whether you're looking for a waterfront home with golf access, a condo with stunning beach views, or a private retreat down on Hideaway Beach, Tyler and his team will guide you to your home. Visit thegolfgroup.com to start your search today, or call 239-420-1099. Once again, that number is 239-420-1099. Go to thegolfgroup.com to find out more. Thank you so much to Tyler and his team for sponsoring this episode of Good Morning Marco.
And we have another sponsor for today's episode of Good Morning Marco. Let's hear about it. Calling all parents and young actors. Sprout Acting Studio, in conjunction with the Marco YMCA, are now seeking applicants for their theatrical summer camp, Christmas in July. The camp is for kids ages 6 to 13, starting Monday, July 28th at 9 a.m. Rehearsals will run that Monday through Friday, 9 to 5. Students will learn all aspects of theater through games and action. You can scan the QR code now to register your child online or register in person at the Marco YMCA. If you have any questions, you can email Gina Cisparo at cisparoacting@gmail.com. The camp will be at the Wesley United Methodist Church, located on South Barfield Drive. Again, Christmas in July Theater Summer Camp from July 28th to August 1st. It's going to be a great time. I've been in plenty of these theater camps myself, and I've directed some over the years, so I think this is a great opportunity, something that you really want to sign your kids up for. So make sure to support Gina and Cisparo Acting Studios and the local YMCA. And a massive thank you once again to Cisparo Acting Studios for sponsoring this episode of Good Morning Marco. Thank you so much to everyone who makes Good Morning Marco possible. It cannot be done without you. If you would like to sponsor Good Morning Marco, you can reach out to us through our Instagram page is a very good way to reach out to us, or you can also email me. It's Ryan at ryanmsullivan.com. It's a great way to get in touch with me. So with that, are we missing anything? I feel like we're missing something.
I don't think we're missing anything.
Okay, I don't think we're missing anything.
Now I'm afraid. I feel like I'm going to go home and be like, oh.
Again, thank you so much for joining us, Thomas.
Thank you.
Official friend of the podcast.
That's what we were missing. Okay, now I got it. Now we're good. Okay, with that, thank you so much for watching. It really does mean the most, and we will see you all in the next one. Bye.
Bye.
That's what we were missing. That's what we were missing. I couldn't remember what it was. Thank you. Oh, goodness me.